Welcome to this brand new section where we're going to talk about ordering products on your Shopify store. Now, in order to get the full benefit of this section, and in fact the remainder of this course, you really need to have two things in place. One, you should have taken a Shopify plan by now of some kind. Okay, so I hope that you've done that so that you're no longer looking at the free trial banner and you're looking very much at a screen like this. So you're fully good to go with all of the functionality that Shopify has to offer. And secondly, you need to have some kind of payment provider in place. So if you haven't done that already, go way back to the lecture where I talked about the settings and the payment providers and look to set up a payment provider for your store. But assuming you have those two things in place, we can now move on to this lecture where we're going to focus on the website order. Okay, when somebody actually buys something from your website, we're going to go through the process and see exactly what happens. So let's head over to the website and actually make an order. So if we scroll down, let's imagine that we're going to buy our little Chihuahua pendant. All right, so let's click on that. I'm going to add it to the cart. I can then view the cart. You notice up here in the top right hand corner I now have one item in the cart, and of course if I were to click on that I would also access the cart. But assuming I'm happy with everything that I see in my cart, I'm going to head to the checkout. So before I actually make this order, I just want to remind you that the way that we set up this checkout is controlled in two places. The first place, as I'm sure you remember, was down in the settings and the checkout, where we looked at all these various options that we could set. So if you need to be reminded about that, go back to that lecture about the settings and the checkout. Now the second place that we looked at the checkout was in fact in the online store. We go to Customize, Theme Settings, and it's down here in Checkout. Now I left all of this by default, I didn't add any images at all, but I just want to remind you to draw your attention to the fact that you could in fact make the checkout look way nicer, way fancier than it actually looks right now. So as a general comment, time spent making your checkout look good is time well invested. So with that brief little refresher out of the way, let's head back to the checkout. I'm going to put in my email address here. I'll use a different email address because I want to show you how the emails are going to work. And then for the sake of this demonstration, I'll just use some kind of fictitious address. Okay, and then just before I click on continue shopping, I just want to draw your attention to the fact that the shipping is going to be calculated at the next step. All right, whoops, so I can't really highlight that very well. Here we go, calculated at the next step. And that's because, of course, of the way we set up our shipping zones. Depending on where this person is, where it's going to be shipped to, will depend on the price that's going to be charged for the shipping. So once again, if you need a refresher on that, just go back to the settings and the shipping. So with that all done, let's move on to continue to shipping. Which brings us to this summary page where we have the shipping method and the shipping costs. So once again, I hope you remember that we set up the standard shipping for £2.95 to be delivered to the United Kingdom. For the rest of the world, we did £3.95. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So then once we've got that done, all we need to do is to continue to payment. Which brings us to the final summary screen where your customers are actually going to make the payment. So over here we have the summary. So the shipping of £2.95 has been added. So we've got a total cost of $22.90. And then you notice that we have two payment options. Okay, my customer has two payment options. Either they can pay by credit card or they can pay by PayPal. And the reason for that, if you remember way back in the settings and the payment providers, is because I have Shopify payment set up. This is this credit card section here. And I also have PayPal. So you might have one or possibly two ways to receive payments from your customers. And then just for completeness, down the bottom here, we have the billing address. And you'll remember in the settings checkout, we set the billing address to be the same as the shipping address. So that's why it's like that by default. Of course, the customer does have the option to use a different billing address, but it's shown like that by default because of the way that we set it up. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to make this payment via credit card, in fact, and I'll see you in a moment when I'm done. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I'm on the payment confirmation screen. Your order is confirmed with all the various information here below. So let's have a look now and see what that looks like in our orders page back on Shopify admin. Okay, so here I am, and as you can see, the order has come in 3 minutes ago. Okay, the payment has been authorized and the fulfillment is unfulfilled. In other words, we haven't yet sent the product to the customer. That's basically what the fulfillment process is. So if I want to see a bit more detail about the order, I can click into the order itself. Now, just before I get into this, I want to show you the fact that I've received an email as the store owner alerting me to the fact there's been a new order on my store. And that order looks like this, okay? Hello, Tim Commerce Expert. I should have changed the name. That would have been better. Tim Sharp placed a new order for your store. Here's the order itself and the various bits and pieces, okay? So every time you get an order, of course, you're going to get an email alert. Okay, let's head back to the admin system and have a look at the order in a bit more detail. So first off, of course, we have the product, and you can see here it says mark as fulfilled. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. First of all, I want to just draw your attention to what's on this right hand side here. Okay, so we've got the customer contact information, the shipping address, and the billing address, which is the same as the shipping address. Okay, it gives me some conversion summary details, so the fact that this is my first order, etc. But you also get this nice fraud analysis as well. So it's basically telling me that the fraud chance of this is low, okay? Which is good. That's what I would expect. I'm the one who made the payment after all. Now, I don't know exactly how it calculates this fraud, how it comes up with this low, medium, or high, but I suspect it works on things like, for example, is the card used in the same place that the order is going to be sent to, for example, okay? And you can view the full analysis simply by clicking on View Full Analysis. And it pulls up a bunch of additional indicators. Now, the reason I wanted to show you this is because if we go back up to the top, you can see here under Payment Authorized that we still have the option to capture the payment. And you can see, in fact, that Paid by Customer is 0. And the reason for that is due, once again, in the payment settings. So let me do a little refresher for you, because we did talk about this in the past. So if we go back to the payment providers, and go down towards the bottom here, you see this payment capture that we talked about in the payment provider settings many lectures ago. And we had the two options. We could either automatically capture the payment or we could manually capture the payment. Now, I left it on purpose on manual, which means that we still have to capture the payment once the order has been made. We wouldn't see this capture payment button if it was set to being automatic. It would just automatically debit the card. Now, let's imagine that, going back to that fraud analysis, that it said super high for some reason, okay? We might not want to capture the payment, so it gives us that option. So I'm really just demonstrating the differences here. I just want to make it very clear. And the other reason is the reason I pointed out previously in that settings lecture, which is that having made the order, we might not have that in stock, and we might not therefore want to go ahead and capture the payment. But in any case, in this example, we definitely do want to capture the payment. So I'm just going to click on Capture Payment here to complete that process. We get a confirmation screen, and then I can go ahead and actually accept that money. Scrolling back up to the top here, you now see that the button has disappeared, and therefore the only thing left to do in this example would be to actually fulfill the order. So let's now go ahead and do that. Which of course brings us to a summary fulfillment screen. We could put in the tracking information if we wanted to. You see it's optional. I haven't got any tracking information, so I'm going to leave it. But if you had, this is where you would add it. So all I'm going to do is click on Fulfill Items. And you can see now that the whole status has changed to paid, fulfilled, and archived. And of course it's also marked as fulfilled here. We could still add the tracking at a later date if we wanted to, and should we have made a mistake, we could also cancel the fulfillment. Additionally, we have the option to print the packaging slip, okay? So we can print a packaging slip to insert into the box or whatever it is before we send it out to the customer. And then just for completeness, if we scroll down again, let's have a look at that timeline. The whole thing has now come together, okay? And you can see, in fact, that an order confirmation email was sent to this address. We then captured the payment. And then a shipping confirmation email was also sent to the same address. So let's have a look at those two emails that have gone out while I've been showing you this process. So here's the first one I got. Thank you for your purchase. So this is the one I got when I very first made that purchase on the site. Okay, and if I were to click on this View Your Order button, I would be taken back to the order summary screen that you saw when I completed the whole purchase process. For the rest of the email, it's all there as you'd expect, with the order summary and the price that I actually ended up paying. And then this second email was sent when I clicked on that Fulfill Order button, because as you can see now, your order is on its way. Okay, they're packaging up, putting in a box, putting in perhaps some sort of packaging slip and sending it to me. And this is the item that I'm going to receive, which is what I should expect because that's the one that I bought. And again, and just as a reminder as to where those notifications are coming from, they're coming from settings notifications, as I'm sure you remember, okay? So if we go settings notifications and click in here, you get a list of all the emails that are being sent out. So for example, the order confirmation email, the one that I just showed you, is coming from here. And if I go all the way down to the bottom here, you're going to see that we have the shipping confirmation email, okay, sent automatically to the customer when their order is fulfilled. That's the second one that I got. Okay, let's head back to the orders page itself, because the other question that comes up all the time, of course, is what do I need to do if I need to issue a refund? And that's super simple. You can see this button up here, a refund, and if I click on it, I get this nice refund screen. So let's just say, for example, that I did want to refund the dog pendant. So I can put in here a 1. So the refund total jumps up to $19.95, which is not completely what the customer paid, because in fact they paid that plus the shipping. And you can see here that I have the option to refund the shipping as well if I wanted to. So let's just say I wanted to refund the shipping as well, like 100% refund. Now the full amount shows here. I can put in a reason just so that we know internally what's going on. And then of course, if I were to click on the refund button, their credit card or however they paid would be automatically recredited with that amount. And with that done, that really completes everything you need to know about making a website order. So just for completeness, let's go back to all orders. We don't need to save these changes. Let's leave this page. And you can see here 47 minutes ago now, it's now been paid and fulfilled. Okay, everything has been done. We're in great shape and our customer is super happy. So in the last lecture, obviously we looked at the website order, but Shopify also allows you to in fact take orders over the phone. And as you can see here, I've come to drafts and it says create orders and invoices, and that we can take orders over the phone, email invoices to customers and collect payments. So let's click on create order and have a look at how this would work. So the principle is that somebody has phoned you, perhaps either from your website or another source of advertising, and they want to buy something from you. So as you can see here, it's a pretty straightforward form. All you'd have to do, first of all, is find the product within our inventory. And to do that, we can either search within this bar here, or we can just browse the products. So let's browse our products for the moment and just choose one of ours, just so I can demonstrate how this is going to work. So let's take our stunning dog pendant, Life is Simply Better this time, and we're going to add it to the order. So the screen refreshes with the total price that the customer's going to pay. And then, of course, all we need to do is to take their credit card details over the phone. So we could pay with credit card, which brings up the form which allows you to ask all the standard questions. I'm sure everybody listening to these lectures has at some point ordered something over the phone. Okay, so you're going to ask for the card number, the name on the card when it expires, and the 3 digits on the back, as well as all the details about the customer themselves, their name and where they live. Now, I hope you don't mind if I don't actually complete this process, because I'm sure you understand exactly what's going on here. So if I just come out of here, it has in fact created a draft order, okay, so it's saved it just in case that customer wants to come back later on. Maybe in my example there, they didn't have their credit card details with them at that point in time, whatever it might be. But I think the process is so simple that you grasp it immediately. I really don't need to spend an awful lot of time going into detail here. So let's get back to drafts now at least and have a look and see how that's going to look in the list. So here we go, here's the draft order showing up. The status is open. Of course, if I click into here, I'm straight back into that order where I could again take the credit card details or do whatever I need to do that's necessary. And of course, over here, I can create a new order at any time. And then just to emphasize, although I'm sure you figured this out already, those emails that we're getting sent out, the email notifications, that's all going to happen also with the phone orders in the same way as it happened with the website orders. So let's talk about abandoned checkouts. Now, abandoned checkouts are a huge problem in e-commerce. It's very different to the real world. You know, if you go into a store and look around and actually grab something off the shelf and go to the checkout, it's pretty unlikely you're going to run out of the shop, right, and just abandon your cart. But that's not the case online. In fact, 60% of people on average will abandon their carts for a variety of reasons, okay? But just know that it's around about 60%. So if we can recover some of those abandoned carts, imagine if we can recover half of them, we can make a massive impact on our business. And as a result, there are a multitude of solutions basically aimed at bringing the customer back to the store so that they complete their purchase. Now, Shopify offers us a solution inbuilt within the platform, and it's based around email. And you may remember, if I go back to the famous settings once again and go to the checkout, I'm sure now you fully appreciate why I started this whole course with the settings. So we're on settings checkout, and if we scroll down towards the bottom here, we have abandoned checkouts. Okay, so this probably makes an awful lot more sense now. Now, as I just said, this system is based around email. So the principle is they get to the checkout, they fill in all the details, including their email, but they don't actually go ahead and make the payment. And now, because we've got their email address, we can send them a reminder email. And you can see here, there's a send after setting. So we can set it to 1 hour, 6 hours, 10 hours recommended, or 24 hours. Now, I can tell you, on all my stores, I will always do a 1 hour. I prefer to have it done as quickly as possible, and I've found that tends to work extremely well. I also want to set it to anyone who abandons the checkout, and of course I'm very happy with the fact that by default we are automatically going to send the checkout emails. So let's have a look and see how this is actually going to work in action, because it will fully bring it to life for you. So I'm going to save this. And then I'm just going to mimic the process of somebody abandoning their checkout. So let's go back to the store. Let's buy one of our products. Let's do our famous Chihuahua that we know and love now. Okay, we'll add them to the cart. We'll view the cart. We're going to check out. And then I'm going to put in my email. Now, for this system to work, it's important to realize that I do actually now need to complete the rest of this form and then click on the Continue Shipping button. So let me fill in my shipping address. Okay, so that's all done, and let me just click on Continue Shipping. Now, it's at this point that I abandon the cart. Maybe I don't have my credit card with me. As I say, there's a ton of reasons why people abandon their cart. But basically, I've gone. I've left the site. Probably I got some sort of message from Facebook popped up and I started doing that instead, right? All the normal things that interrupt our daily lives. But for whatever reason, I am not going to continue to this payment. So what's going to happen now is that Shopify has registered the fact that I'm not going any further with the process. So in 1 hour, I'm going to get an email. And of course, that email is going to be managed within those notifications, that great big list of all the notifications in there. You're going to see the abandoned cart email, and that's the email that's going to be sent out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go away for an hour. I'm going to do something else. And when I come back, we're going to see that I've received the abandoned cart email. Okay, so a whole hour has gone by, and hey presto, as I would expect, I've received the email. And as you can see, it says, you left an item in your cart. Hi, you added an item to your shopping cart and haven't completed your purchase. You can complete it now while it's still available. So enticing me back to the store. And as you can see, I've got a big button here. It says items in your cart. So let me click on that. And as you can see, it brings me back to the cart. Everything's in it. Everything is pre-filled in. The only thing I need to do right now is to continue to the payment. So I think you can see this is a very effective method. In fact, in this way, you're likely to recover close to half of the carts that get abandoned. So it's well worth implementing this either for yourself or any potential future clients. So let's now complete the picture by going back to the admin system and having a look at what it looks like under abandoned carts. And so here we go. You can see the time that I placed the order, the email was sent, you've seen that, I received it, and it's not recovered because I never went through and actually made the payment. But of course, if I did, that status would change to being recovered. And of course, if I click in here, you can see the whole details of the abandoned cart itself. Now, as I said at the beginning of this lecture, there are a multitude of solutions to do this. This is simply the inbuilt email system that's included within Shopify, and I think you'll agree it's a powerful system. Now, the other solutions are generally in the form of apps, which I'll be looking at later on in the course.